to his teammates to find their rhythm and their flow. To me, it's not just the starters or the subs. I think Steve Kerr has to look at sprinkling in a few different lineups, and not necessarily changing the starting lineup, but within the game, maybe getting some youth and athleticism around some of those vets.
And, of course, is our good friend Chris Mullin, Mully the Hall of Famer. You can see him before and after all Warriors games on NBC Sports Bay Area. Steph getting some help, and that was certainly the case this weekend. They lose both games over the weekend to Cleveland and Minnesota, 118-110 Saturday night, 116-110 last night. And rotation players around Steph, so Clay, Wiggs, Paul, Green, Kamiga, Moody, and Saric, they combined for 40 of 115 from the floor. That's 34.7%, and 17 of 63, 26.9% from three. So that was just the two games over the weekend. And Clay specifically, 10 for 32, 5 of 15. Wiggins continues to be in a milk carton, 9 of 19, 1 of 6 over the weekend. Chris Paul struggled shooting the basketball. Is this just something that's going to come around?
Well, let's take it through the whole weekend. And so they lost the last game of the road trip in Denver. And Draymond Green had a personal situation. He wasn't with the team in Denver. He came home, which is fine. And they also didn't have Gary Payton II, so you dropped the final game of a good road trip. You wound up losing in Cleveland. And then you come back and you play the same Cavalier team on Saturday night, and now you lose the game, not because of a Draymond Green personal situation, but Draymond Green's personality. And this is what he did with Donovan Mitchell was amazing. And the fact that how they uncovered it on replay review was really interesting. He already had one technical in the game. It's just his way. Once he gets that technical, he does not back off. I've never seen a player like him in my life where he gets more agitated. And then he starts, motioning to the crowd, whether he's on the road or in Sacramento at Golden One or at home. He makes it all about him. And then he commits a blatant cheap shot against Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's driving in on an offensive play, and Draymond just gives him a forearm in the back and spills him over the baseline. It would have been undetected. No one saw it in transition, except Donovan Mitchell went for a beeline right at Draymond Green and got into him. And the next play and committed a blatant foul. And they were wondering, is it going to be a flagrant or a flagrant one, or is it going to be a take foul? What's going on here? But then when you looked at it, it was obvious that Draymond precipitated the action. So he winds up, and I've never seen this before in replay review, they lay a second technical on Draymond Green and kick him out of the game. So, I mean, Draymond, and I know, he's going to shoot back, and that's who I am. That's who you are. And it already cost you one championship years ago. And then, you got Durant because of it, and just on and on. I mean, how many times have we seen him behave like this? And they're just tired of dealing with it. I don't know how they deal with him. But that was so frustrating. And then he gets the crowd all riled up. He just got kicked out of the game. Why would you applaud that? Does he have any remorse for it? And so that
no, on social media he went out and actually doubled down and said, quit telling me to be somebody else.
I'm not telling you to be somebody else, but if I'm your teammate, I'm not going to like your behavior, and you indirectly cost us a game. Did that help us win that game on Saturday? Are we better with you on the floor or off? What are you doing? And it was a blatant cheap shot on Donovan Mitchell. Then he got in the Donovan's face. It's just he's done this. I mean, I've lost track of how many times he's done this in his career. But that's Draymond. And then last night, and
can we just hit this real quick, and then we'll move on to the next game. The thing that I don't understand with Draymond is in just his response on social media. We all go through this in our daily life, and as we get older, it's not even a sports issue. It's you can grow, you can still be you and grow and change, and it doesn't change who you are. So that when he says this kind of stuff, because you and I have had this debate a million times, can he not play with an edge without going over it? You don't have to be. This is not a black and white issue. You can play in the gray, can you not?
Not him. I mean, how many mistakes does he have to make? He teabags LeBron, and I really think that looking, I was sitting right there courtside, 10 feet away or 50 feet away, whatever it was. I didn't think he did anything wrong, but the league did, and it cost you a championship that year when he was suspended for Game 5. He's done it so many times in games. And then he did it last year in training camp. The video got up, and it blew up an entire season. A teammate got traded. And now you're talking about why they don't score enough? you traded away a guy that scores 20 points a game. And I know he's a flawed player in some regard, but he's going to calm down over time. Jordan Poole's a wonderful offensive player. And because of that action, he got traded and the whole thing blew up. And now you're here. And right now you're struggling offensively, which you thought the Warriors would never be in this situation with their offense and ball movement, but they are. And what Mully is saying is, and the whole talk about when Chris Paul arrived is, do you have to change the starting lineup, and should he come off the bench? Should he start? Now you're in a real quandary where you're starting Draymond Green and Kevon Looney, and to say they're non-offensive players is not correct. They help you offensively in different ways. And Draymond is shooting the ball better, and specifically this year shooting the ball from three-point range, but they can sag off of them. And I never thought Minnesota, when they traded for Rudy Gobert and gave up all those picks, I thought, boy, that's the NBA in the 80s and 90s. You're going to play two big guys? And Catman don't guard? And you got Gobert to cover him up? I thought the league would run them off the floor. It's not that way. Rudy Gobert is a force. And although the Warriors have picked on him throughout his career, it works. And you got Mike Conley and Edwards and McDaniels, and they're a good team, and they're a good defensive team. And in any event, now you're in a weird situation where you play back-to-back at home. You lose them both to two different teams. Now the Timberwolves are hanging around. You're playing them tomorrow night, and they suffocated you last night. It was a close game, but you had chances to make shots and get in. So to Mully's point, I do wonder if you do need to change the starting lineup. To play Looney and Draymond, when they've had offensive problems before, they broke them up and just didn't play them simultaneously. Now, the problem is Minnesota ain't changing. Chris Finch is going to run out, the French rejection, the Stifle Tower with the Kathmandu. They're not changing. So do you want to go smaller against their big lineup and just run them off the floor? That Mully would probably say go smaller. Nelly would say that. Steve Kerr's got that in him. I don't know. But what you're saying is you're getting off to bad starts now in this, number one efficient lineup in the league. And last night you actually led after one quarter. I don't know what the answer is. Part of me thought to put Paul in the starting lineup or maybe Šarić and bring Looney off the bench to more stretch them out. I don't know. But I never thought the Warriors would have an offensive problem. I think a lot of it is their guys just are not shooting straight. Klay Thompson's missing open shots. He did it Saturday, came back. He missed a Klay up late in last night's game, which reverts back to his young days. And then Paul, as well as he orchestrates for everybody else, you can't be someone they sag off of like Draymond and Kevon, and they just don't guard. So right now, a little bit of a mini, after getting off to a good start, a little bit of a mini losing streak, but it starts with Draymond Green's behavior. I don't know when he's ever going to learn. He's old enough now. He's not going to. That's what you accept, and you keep giving him 4-year deals at $100 million, and Draymond is who he is, but is there any remorse for getting kicked out of the game when your teammates needed you? And he obviously initiated the whole thing with Donovan Mitchell. He shoved him off the baseline, John. He already had a technical. He knew what the situation, he knew that if anybody sees that he's going to get run from the game. And he's just one of the smartest players that's ever played. Why does he get himself into these traps over and over again with his temper, his anger management?
Yeah, I agree. And then he doubles down on social media on it, that he's not going to change. I think what would also help, and I think it will come around, and we've talked about it for a long time, Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson, they need them to play their roles. They need to score. I know that Wiggs does more things than score, but he has opportunities to score, and Klay Thompson's, he looks like he did last year in the playoffs against the Lakers. He's got to get it going. I think those will solve a lot of things too. But I agree with you on Draymond. I don't know why you can't. I don't know why you can't play with an edge, but at that point, then just kind of rein it in. And he always says he can, but there have been situations in which he hasn't. He always will tweet out something like, when it counts, I won't lose it. But he has lost it in those situations.
Periodically, he stomps on Sabonis. He gets suspended for a playoff game. Right. He walked the technical tightrope for a long time. Then he went over it. I thought as a young player, he paid the ultimate penalty. The greatest regular season team in the history of the league did not win a championship that year. And him getting suspended for Game 5, and there were a lot of events that happened with injuries and Cleveland peaking, and Steph was dealing with the knee, but they needed to close them out in 5. They would have won that championship in 5 if he does not get suspended after Game 4. You'd think after paying the ultimate penalty, you would try to change your behavior, but obviously he cannot change his behavior. There's been too many situations as he's grown older. He's not going to change one bit, and the guys around him can't stop him. They know. They don't even try to go pull him out of it anymore. They just know he's gonna be Draymond.
Yeah, even Steve Kerr is like, look, you just accept it with him, and that's kind of what it is. All right, the Warriors, for the weekend, they get a night off, and then, the tournament. We'll see the court on Tuesday. So there you go. All right, we'll get back to the 49ers. If you missed the audio recap, you are in luck. Tim and Greg, Papa and Ryan, I should say, because you don't like when you're called Greg in that.
We're going to do it
right?
again?
Oh, yeah, people love it.
We're going to do it a second time?
People love that stuff. So we'll play the audio recap for you. We'll give you a few things that you may have missed, like the Giants' new coaches, which happened over the weekend. We told you about it weeks ago.
Pat the Melvin.
But how about that? So we haven't even gotten to those things. Lots of rumors around Major League Baseball. Still a ton to come, including the recap up until the top of the hour. And then, of course, it's Tolbert and Copes to recap everything over the weekend at 2, only here on the Sports Leader.